Mega Rising came out, and I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the best seasons. However, there is one problem that I noticed earlier today, and I just want to talk about that topic. Yo, what is going on today, guys? We're back here for another video, and you can see here we are in the Limitless deck builder, and we have a bunch of meta relevant cards. And I want to essentially talk about a problem that I think we have, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail. Yes, we have a low energy problem in Pokemon Pocket because everything that is like not 2 energy and below is kind of not viable. In the few cards that are 3+, they actually have some sort of energy generation, which kind of counteracts the need for having 3 energy. We can see stuff like Magnezone and Hydreigon in the bottom. Even previous seasons, we had Giratina and we also had Flareon. We do have Darkrai that's, meta in this thing, but it's more of like Darkrai not going for the attack. It's more like that 20 ping when you have another attacker. So Darkrai is like a weird exception, but he's more of like a utility, I would say, than a main attacker himself. But yeah, if we just think about meta relevant cards, we have a bunch. We don't have every single one, but we have, Suicunes, the Greninjas, the Absols, the Indeedee, Terraria, Blazikens, the Decidueyes, and obviously the Hydreigons, the one I talked about, bro, with the energy generation. And even stuff like Hemor. Obviously, there's all the baby Pokemon, bro, and there's even stuff like Jirachi, which we could pull up if I really wanted to. But I feel like anything that doesn't have like 1 or 2 energy is just kind of bad. And is that a problem? Is that something that shouldn't be in the game? Should we be awarding people who have these high energy counts? Because if we think about it, dude, there have been some decks that have been able to top cut that have high energy. And one of the main examples is Goodra. Goodra, if you can set up the 3 energy on this card and get the Indeedees with the helmet, this card is extremely powerful and it's low-key almost unstoppable. However, the deck is extremely inconsistent and it just requires so much energy that sometimes you just can't get that before you're losing. Another perfect example is Golem, which is, very similar to Indeedee, a little bit more powerful because that, has higher damage plus higher HP with the excess of Brock, even giving that extra energy generation, which usually doesn't mean much. It only really takes from a 4-2 or 3 because you won't, and like, unless you go like first, you would have like double Brock back to back. But like, it's just, yeah, it's just kind of like Golem has the same thing. Is high energy, is inconsistent. But like once you get a setup, the problem is these decks are just not really doing anything consistently. We've seen, like, I know I've said that like a couple times, but that is just basically the main aspect that I wanted to talk about. Because if we actually move on to the Limitless, we look at the best decks, we can just see here, almost all of these decks don't have a high attacker dude at the top. Let's see. Yeah, like I said, Giratina has the energy generation, so that doesn't really count. We have to go all the way down to the 19th best deck. Obviously, it's not like totally ordered, dude, and obviously like 19 is not that good. But we have Mega Ampharos, which is a 3 energy attacker. And if we just go back to the deck builder, bro, and we look at some of these cards, like Ampharos 100 and then 60 to the bench, that's not a bad attack. The problem is everything else in the meta is low energy. You have to like specifically go second with Pichu or like some sort of like Zera combo, charge this Pokemon up and go on the offensive and try to sweep before they can get anything set up themselves and pray they don't get a mega set up. And yeah, it's just like, for like, if you're gonna be a Pokemon of high energy, you have to be something that's gonna be able to sweep and just not be able to get KO'd like those Golems or those Goodras that are very, like I said, once again, yeah, I feel like if you take a shot for every time I say this word, bro, you probably would sue me. But inconsistent, it's just not consistent, bro. We have Mega Pinsir, which is 150 damage. You have Will, bro, to be able to make this land 100% guaranteed. 3 energy, bro. And not only that, I mean, you don't have really good Grass Ramper, so you have to play like Pichu, which is kind of awkward. We have Mega Gyarados. Well, okay, Mega Gyarados has a lot of problems. Obviously, all the bench snipers are one thing, the 30 HP Magikarps. But this card is extremely powerful. The problem is you just cannot get a setup because, like, yeah, the Magikarps could get sniped, but dude, if you had access to a giant cave, the Magikarp, you could set it up and then it actually attack on the next turn. It wouldn't be that big of a problem because you could just air it to the HP back up. The problem is you have to spend 2 extra turns probably getting this up unless you get a very good Misty. And I think the last one is going to be the Mega Pidgeot. This attack is actually broken. This is one of the best attacks in the game. Sometimes, yes, you're going to do 0, you're going to get bad luck, dude, etc., etc. But this attack is actually pretty busted. The problem is 300 again. Very weird synergy. You have to go second. You don't really want your Mega to be a sweeper. You want your Mega to, be able to go in after their Mega. So it's very awkward, bro. Because if you like, for example, you have something else, like maybe you pair this with like a Hemor itself, you know, some sort of bench sniper, because it is colorless, you can play it with any other energy type. And your Pokemon gets knocked out early before you can get the third energy on Mega Altaria, which is going to be pretty common because everything else in this format is low energy. It's just very weird, man. And like, hopefully what I'm trying to like talk about makes sense. And if we just like look at other stuff, bro, like, or like if we just go back to Limitless, like everything, bro, like, yeah, we have some Arceus variants. You know, we have the Arceus Crobat, which is like, Arceus is probably like the 1-3 energy card that is still decent. And like, I get like, let's just go to the, like, one of the most recent tournaments. So we had the Pocket Mads tournament that just happened 4 days ago. We just real quick look at this one. Okay, we had a Guzzlord, which is 4 energy. At the same time, Guzzlord has Lusamine, so that also kind of doesn't count the same thing as Magnezone and Hydreigon. So I wouldn't really count Guzzlord in that category, personally, because it doesn't have access to Lusamine. And I mean, and the deck does fall apart. You have Dusknoir, which is technically 3 energy, but that's more of like an Altaria sweep. So I feel like that shouldn't also count. Like actual attacker of 3 energy, if we just scroll down, dude, we're in the 60s. I'm not seeing one unless I ended up missing some sort of Arceus variant, but I'm just not seeing anything that has those high energy counts that is not ramping itself up. I'm seeing a bunch of Hydreigons. We have a Victory Bell. That's 2 as well. That's another 2 attacker, which is a very weird meta deck as well. The Jolteon's obviously 2 as well. We have to go all the way down, dude, to who even knows? Yeah, all the way down. Let's just make sure I didn't miss one. 180th place, dude, for a Gudra. We can even go to this tournament that we just had ended the day with 100, I think 80 players, 160, something like that. Let's find the 3 energy attacker, bro. Let's just find something that isn't 2. We have a Pidgeot in 44th. And I think the point is clear. We have a serious problem in other metas. And I'm not going to say this is something new for Pocket, but this is just something that has definitely been exaggerated. I feel like with the introduction of the Mega Pokemon, as they are super strong. And I feel like and don't get me wrong, Pinsers have made top 8s. Amphiroses have made, you know, top 16s. Probably top 8s as well. I'm not super sure about that one, but I mean, I'm probably sure one at least has by now. Mega Gyarados exist. And Pidgeot just came out, so I'm expecting it to still make a top 8 eventually, because I just feel like it has that cheese factor, so it will. I just feel like the energy on some cards hold it extremely back. Because like, what if Ampharos was like 80 with the same attack? I feel like that would actually be pretty decent, because you would have Zera, you would have Pichu, and 80 into a bunch of bench damage doesn't actually sound that bad, because you have Absol that does 80, which obviously discards a card. But then you would have like Ampharos, you can have like double Cyrus, open the Cyrus. I don't know, you know, just something like that with like the less damage maybe. And if we look at older formats, I mean, we kind of had something similar. I mean, we had like Arceus obviously meta relevant for a long time. And even in Secluded Springs, we didn't really have anything of high energy, but it's just something that's just definitely bad in the game. I don't know how we fix it, because I feel like there's just so many cards that like could be pretty decent, but they just have too much energy. Like if we just go into the EX Pokemon and like look at everything that has like 3 energy or more, like we have this Rapidash, which is not going to see a single bit of play because it has 3 energy. As soon as I saw that thing at 3, we had Melmetal. I think Melmetal is extremely strong if you go second, because you have that ramp up power of Meltan. I think if it goes first, the deck just sucks. So you're gonna have to play it with Dolga in case you do go first, lose the coin flip. And what other EX Pokemon do we have? You know, we have Primarina, who really never saw play. You know, Palkia is just so outdated. We have this Lycanroc, which the Lycanroc 130. You know, same thing as Rampardos, but when like if you're never gonna be able to hit that, dude. Like the 3, like why would you play 3 energy when you could play this 1? Even that stuff like Delmize, like nobody's ever played this. And yeah, this is just a problem that has always existed. You on Mega, you know, definitely did with Dolga, but that was in a way more slower format. Basically, I feel like after Space Time is when everybody stopped playing those, besides like Arceus, Dolga, because every deck would just like ramp itself up, bro, with like Giratina and stuff like that. Even like Ho-Oh saw a little bit of play here and there, but it's just nothing crazy. I feel like the most we saw 3 energy decks really thrive was something like Daycare back in Wisdom. Or not Wisdom, but Secluded Springs. I feel like that was the closest we had, where you guys were playing, or we were just playing Snorlax and stuff. But in a Mega format where everything is just turning, it's just not viable, bro. And don't get me wrong, there have been some Snorlax decks too and stuff. Like I've seen some Indeedee cheese fun ones. But I think you kind of understand my point. Where like a lot of the times, if you see a card that has just more than 2 energy, you would kind of assume, unless it's extremely broken with an ability or some sort of weird attack that is going to one shot or do some crazy stuff, the card is probably not going to be good. Even that Poliwrath, which is 3, which can do 140 damage, and it's just like, dude, it's just, it can just go on and on. We have Lantern, which like confuse or paralyze. This is a fucking strong item, dude. I'm telling you right now, if Lantern was 2 energy for like 70 damage with confusion and or paralyze, I think this card would have saw play. Top tier, no, it probably would have been a solid deck, because I feel like both paralyze and confuse are extremely strong abilities, because it just forces it's just dude, I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say. I think you understand the point of the video. And the question is, how do we solve this? Like, do we have a special energy card just for Pokemon at 3 or 4 or more? Because you can't give like something like, obviously I don't think double energy will ever come. Or is it double energy or is it twin energy? I think it's double. I don't think that card is ever going to come to pocket. I don't want it to ever come into pocket. And if there was a card that just, you know, did 1 energy, I think they would have to make it so you have to have 3 or 4 energy like an attack to be able to use it. Because I don't think Pokemon should be able to use it like Suicune. I don't think, or like Suicune's a bad example because it's not colorless, but like, I guess maybe if it was colorless, maybe it was something, because you could balance that out. Because most of these Pokemon that attack do have like double energy, which is like the one good thing. But there are definitely some Pokemon that could probably take advantage of it that might only have 1 energy. I don't know exactly what those are right now, because I kind of wasn't even thinking about that before I just randomly speaking about that fact. But I guess something like that. I mean, I guess like Dogshiro could take advantage. Technically, like, it's probably not. Sylveon, would actually be kind of freaking annoying, because you'd be able to attack like turn 1, I guess technically. And maybe if there's like a good psychic type to pair it with, but I don't know. Obviously, it's just an example of something they can do. Because I like, obviously, like the big Pokemon, bro, you have to like, it's just weird because you have to use the big Pokemon, and then like the big Pokemon are just dead cards, so they take a KO, and then if you go in with an EX or something, which is why like Goodra is kind of nice because it's the basic. But if you go in with like an EX or a Mega after getting ramped up by Pichu, that EX or Mega is gonna have to solo the game if they have more than 3 energy, because you're already sacrificing that 1 point. And if you are obviously ramping something up for 3 or 4, you probably don't have another attacker at that point, which is very awkward, which is why I think Mega Gyarados is bad. Because Mega Gyarados wants an attacker before Gyarados. You know, back in the day we had that of the Origin Palkia of the Manaphy, because the format was way slower. But now, because you need something fast, you have to play the Mantike, even though I think Manaphy is better overall for Gyarados. But there's no good attacker for Gyarados because everything also is like 3 energy breath, so it's like very counterintuitive. Anyways, just nothing was really cohesive, bro. I understand that. This is all just off the freestyle, bro, off my head. I didn't write anything down because I'm still in the middle of moving. But I just wanted to get this thought out there. I just wanted to see if anybody else kind of agreed with me, because it's definitely something that exists in Pocket. I mean, you guys can't deny that, especially with everything that I've talked about. If there is a card that I missed that is like 3 energy that is being played besides Arceus that actually attacks, by the way, let me know in the comments, because I would love to be fact checked. But just off my initial, you know, looking at Limitless, and then just off the knowledge of my own, I couldn't really think of something that doesn't wrap itself up. Anyways, I think that does it for the video. Peace out and have a lovely day, as always.